Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reading a little bit of Matthew 6, starting with 19 to 20, and then I'm going to jump over to 24. So 19 to 20 is, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal." And then 24 is, "No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money." Very excellent nugget of wisdom here. Starting with the "do not lay yourselves treasures on earth." I mean, one may find themselves fixated on accumulating as much as they can. That may be a motivator, that may be a drive or the sole drive for some individuals. And like it says, moss and rust can destroy, and where thieves can break in and steal. And it says, "But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." So it's kind of just saying to store the treasures of God, if you will, in your heart and in your mind. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And that kind of makes me think of imagine hoarding millions of dollars in a safe, and I can only imagine you kind of become fixated on that. You kind of be obsessing over, oh, is the money safe? Where is it? Where is it? Like, did anybody steal it? Did it get destroyed? I mean, where you store your treasure, in the physical world, that's kind of where your heart could end up going. It could just be fixated on that. It could just be focusing on that, and it could be kind of distracting from God. But then, like it says, lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, and then for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So it's like the treasure is like God, being saved by God. And then if that's the main treasure, then that's where your heart will be, and then that's what you'll be focused on. That's kind of what you'll be concerned about, is like, am I doing all that I can to learn more about the Bible? Am I learning more? Like, that's kind of the main point that I got about that. But Matthew 6:24, "No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money." I mean, that kind of just sums it up for itself right there. I don't really think there's too much more I can add on that, other than kind of paint a picture of the individual that just works, and then that sort of becomes their God. That sort of becomes their master. They sort of put their career or the work or making money as their God, instead of the real God. And that can lead to all sorts of issues. That can lead to all sorts of troubles, which comes when one forsakes God for a false idol, that being career or money. Just causes a lot of issues. I mean, if you can kind of just picture the individual that sort of turns their back to God and chases material success, that chases accolades in a career. I mean, sure, they might get it, but it's kind of like an empty endeavor, because it's always just chasing more and more and more and more. Whereas one who serves God, one who submits to God, sure, they might not have all the money in the world, they might not have tons of career success or whatever it may be, but they'll be fulfilled, knowing that they're serving God. And they may even be granted or blessed tons of money and an amazing career, but so long as God comes first, I feel is super important. And next we're going to go to 1 Timothy, I think it's 6:10, which says, "For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs." Yeah, that kind of just makes me think of a lot of horrific things that go on in the world just for the love of money. Whether it be wars started for power to acquire money, whether it's corruption in higher places to get more wealthy off of the lower class, the lower income people, individuals, or just robberies, like plain simple robberies, murders, just for material gain. An interesting part I noticed is I've heard the expression that money is the root of all evil, which in my last video I was kind of saying, well, I don't really believe that's true. I don't think money is the root of all evil, but it says right here, the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. So it's not like money is inherently evil, which I feel like is a mindset that kind of dooms people to like poverty. Because I feel like thinking, oh, money's bad, you'd kind of want to stay away from it. Like if you believe that money's just terrible and causes all sorts of bad things, you'd want to stay as far away from it as possible. But I don't think that's ideal. And like hating money, you just push it away, and then you're broke, and for no reason. Like you don't really have to be broke, just out of not liking money. I mean, there's reasons to be broke, but I don't think that's one of them, by just not liking money. But it says right here, the love of money. So it's the love of it, and like it said in the last verse that we read, you cannot serve two masters. So it's like you can't love money and you can't love God. The two just don't go hand in hand. Like the love for money will kind of sidetrack you from the love of God. And it's like, what else did it say in the last chapter? It was like, where you store your treasure is where your heart is at, or like what treasures you store, something like that is where your heart's at. And it's like, that kind of ties into the love of money. It's like if you store all your value into material things, then it's like that's where your heart's at, that's what you love, that's what you cherish. That becomes a false idol. When if you view your treasures as like blessings or wisdom from the Bible, like as the real treasures, then that's where your heart's at, and then that shows that you love God, and that you're serving God. And I think the last part of this video is Deuteronomy 8:18. So we discussed that you can't serve two masters. I mean, you can't be serving the desire for more material gain while also serving God. And then it shows that the love of money is the root of all kinds of corruption, all kinds of evil. And then Deuteronomy 8:18 says, "You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, that he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your fathers." So yeah, you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get wealth, that he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your fathers, as it is this day. So yeah, just remember. Okay, let me just read a little bit more to get some context here, actually. "Who led you through the great and terrifying wilderness with its fiery serpents, scorpions, and thirsty ground?" Okay, this is interesting. God is saying this to, I forget who. He's saying this to somebody, but it says, "Beware lest you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, that he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your fathers, as it is this day." So it's very interesting. He's talking to an individual here in Deuteronomy 8:18. Be careful, or beware lest you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. So it's like, be careful in believing that it was your own wit, your own will that got you that wealth. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get the wealth. So it's like, it's really God, it's God's money, as I feel like what it's kind of saying here is what I'm getting out of this, is like, be careful in thinking that it was all because of you that you got your whatever position you're in, because that can be dangerous, because I feel like that can lead to like arrogance, that can lead to willful ignorance. I mean, I've personally experienced this firsthand. Like, I've made investments that I thought were pretty good and that paid off pretty well, and then I got complacent, and then you kind of lose the, you think, oh wow, I made this great maneuver, it was all because of me, so smart, play it up, but then kind of get complacent, and then it kind of just slips away and then turns to nothing. And that's kind of what I feel like it's saying here. It's like, not to get complacent, not to like think, to kind of like forget the blessings, if you will. And then it says, remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get wealth. It's like God blesses you with the insights, God blesses you with the intelligence, the will, the desire. All these things are God's blessings that he gives to us to accumulate wealth, if that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like this video was a little bit choppy, a little all over the place, but I think I got the gist of it down. Yeah, to sort of not make false idol out of money, and to sort of put our treasures, put our attention and our faith into God. And I feel like all those things will kind of just get sorted out. I mean, it's when we take those like big leaps of faith, it's when we take those like kind of seemingly risky, but more just like coming from a place of goodness, that money tends to come in. But it's like when one starts like chasing money out of greed, out of fear, out of lack, out of like a desire to like fill a void or whatever it may be, it's like that doesn't seem to go well. It doesn't seem to work out, or it just leads to corruption. It just leads to evil ways of accumulating money and wealth. When it comes from a good place, when it comes from self-assurance, a confidence in through God, then it kind of gives the individual, kind of gives you like room to take a risk, because hey, this is God's creation. He will do what he pleases with it. He will, if it's meant to grow, it's meant to grow. If it's meant to not, then it's meant to not. It kind of just comes from a good place. But yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Until next time.